A move I think the Browns should make. On the other hand, speaking of signing free agents, I think the Browns should sign Jadeveon Clowney.
I'm with you. I was actually going to say, now, since you brought up shedding the contract of Olivier Vernon, is doing that in order to make the cap room to sign Jadeveon Clowney to a 2-year deal, and the benefit in that is you don't have to trade for him.
No, he's a free agent. We can do whatever we want. He was originally asking for $20 million a year. Allegedly, he has now lowered what he's asking for down to $17 million, $18 million a year, something like that. I think the more guaranteed money you offer, the lower the overall contract can be. You offer a lot of guaranteed money and then make up the icing on the cake with incentives. I think that's a good move. But someone like Jadeveon Clowney, I think makes a lot of sense to bring in. And hell, we could keep Olivier Vernon and still bring in Clowney. We have something like $35 million in cap space. It's the most in the NFL. So that's a move we could make, but we do like rolling over the cap, so I don't think that's the move we necessarily should make. I think moving on from Vernon makes sense if you bring it in a Clowney. But at the same time, Clowney is a little injury prone, and so is Olivier Vernon. So maybe it makes sense, at least for a year, to have both of them in rotation.
Maybe. I don't know. I like Clowney. I think it would be a good move against...
Hot take. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I like Clowney, and I expressed what I thought would be a good move for the Browns to get Clowney, and the fact that you don't have to trade for him. I don't know what else you want me to add to that, bro.
No, that's fair. So the knock on Clowney is that he doesn't get a lot of sacks. Last year with the Seahawks, he only had 3 in 11 or 12 games, which is a very small amount. Even when he was at the Texans, I think his career high was like 9 in a season, something like that, which obviously isn't bad, but don't forget, he was like the first overall pick in the draft not long ago with the Texans 5 years ago, something like that. He's a freak. But I don't care about any of that. I mean, his pass rush grade is okay. I think he's, according to Pro Football Focus, he's the 29th rated pass rusher. Last year, he got to the quarterback on 16% of his blitzing attempts. But here's why I really like Jadeveon Clowney and why I think he makes perfect sense for the Browns. First of all, you're putting him opposite Myles Garrett. And Jadeveon Clowney has had some issues with effort in the past, where he takes some plays off. He takes even some games off. But I think being on the opposite side of Myles Garrett is going to motivate him and push him to be better every game. Because one thing about Myles Garrett, there's a lot of great things about Myles Garrett, but one thing especially about him is that Myles Garrett gives it his all every game. That dude is a proud Cleveland Brown and he wants to win. He's probably my favorite player. I love Myles Garrett. But I think that's going to have a huge impact on Jadeveon Clowney. And the other reason I think Jadeveon Clowney is a perfect fit and why I think we should definitely sign him is in 2018, his last full season with the Texans, he was the second best rated edge defender, according to Pro Football Focus, against the run. He is one of the best in the game at setting the edge. You know what the Browns have been horrible at for like 20 years?
Setting the edge, stopping the run.
We can never do it.
Yeah.
We can never do it, ever. Never can we ever do it. He's one of the best in the NFL to do it. And in 2019, his last year with the Seahawks, I know I mentioned he only had 3 sacks, but according to Pro Football Focus, he was rated the 10th best edge defender overall last year.
Sure.
So while he may not get the sack production that you want to see, neither does Olivier Vernon, in all fairness.
Yeah. At least not last year.
Yeah, you got Myles Garrett on the other side to generate those sacks. And Jadeveon Clowney, he's no bum. He still generates pressure, but he's able to actually stop the run. I think if we have Garrett and Clowney on the edges...
he makes an impact overall in the game.
Yeah, you can't ignore him. I think having Clowney and Garrett on the edges would be massive in terms of our ability to stop the run and funnel things inside. And if you know that you're funneling most things inside, then you can bring in the extra bodies to help account for that.
Sure. No, it makes sense. It would be a good move for the Browns. We know Andrew Barry's already talked about Jadeveon Clowney being a quote-unquote good player, and the Browns obviously wanting to make an effort at picking him up.
And how exciting would it be?
It would be. It would be more star power for the Cleveland Browns.
Which is a little nerve-wracking.
Sure.
But
I mean, you would hope it just generates wins, right? That's why we got so excited about Odell Beckham, and obviously it was kind of a fluke year for him last year. Supposedly wasn't 100% healthy. We obviously didn't have the right system. So you hope it's Stefanski coming in here. You have Odell Beckham will have kind of a resurface and will come back, and Jarvis Landry will continue the tear that he's been having. I mean, he had a great year last year, and I think he'll continue that as Odell Beckham kind of picks up the pace, something he was lacking his first year with the Cleveland Browns. And then you keep adding these these pieces on defense, especially on the line, I think it'll be a huge move for the Cleveland Browns. And what I hope it generates is more wins and a competitive team against the AFC North and the NFL in general.
Big facts. And after letting Kirksey go and Schobert go, we don't have any expensive players on defense right now.
Sure.
I mean, you can make the argument Myles Garrett, he's going to be due for a contract this coming off season. I get that.
But
and there's
something like
Olivier
a short-term 2-year Clowney deal. And again, that's why I mentioned shedding that contract is, getting rid of those $15 million that you're due for. And me and you have both multiple times said we don't think the cap in the NFL is like a real thing. Because every year it just goes up and teams can manipulate ways around it all the time. And it's just they're arbitrary numbers essentially, but I think this would be a smart move by the Cleveland Browns, and this is an analytical front office. I'm sure they've looked at this and they've realized that this is the right moves to strengthen that defensive line.
I hope they do it, man. Fingers crossed.
We'll see what happens.
I want Clowney.
It has to be
back.
right for both sides. Clowney wants his money. We want to make sure we're doing the right things with our quote unquote cap that exists.
Yeah, and we can always shed Vernon, so that opens up some. We already have we have the most cap space in the NFL. So, to me, it's like...
Is that a fact?
That's a fact.
We were like third.
No, right now we have the most. We have the most cap space in the NFL. So, the whole argument with, money and Clowney is if anyone signs him, a team and it's not the Browns, that means a team with less cap space signed him.
Sure.
So, there's no reason why we can't, as far as I'm concerned. But it's enough Clowney talk. It's enough clowning around.